sometimes ruinous environment for most men and machines. But every year they return to answer the challenge that only Baja can make. Beat me if you dare. This is the race that turns ordinary men into legends. Dirty, twisted metal into Madison Avenue marketing gold. This is the one and only, the legendary Baja 1000. This is the scenic coastline of Baja, Mexico. Our stop, Ensenada, a great place to vacation and relax, and a favorite spot of the cruise ship tour, but not a tranquil location on this day. Hello everybody, I'm Ralph Shaheen. We are just outside of Ensenada, here in the middle of the Baja Desert, where in a little while, the SCORE trophy trucks will come racing through here in search of victory in the Tecate Baja 1000. Now this is the Indy 500 for off-road racers, and to win it in a SCORE trophy truck will secure you a spot in off-road racing history. But it does take more than just a great driver and a great truck to get a victory here in the Baja Desert. It takes great teamwork. And with more on the logistical nightmare of this tremendous event, here's my broadcasting partner, Bob Bauer.
You're absolutely right, Ralph. Logistical nightmare pretty well sums this up. In fact, if a team has a shot at all of winning this thing, they've got to be prepared for the worst. Well, that means they've got to spread parts and personnel all over this Baja racecourse. Things like transmissions and rear ends and drive lines and lights and shocks, and well, the list is endless. When the race starts, the attention's focused on the driver. But when it's over, it'll be the crew that gets the credit. You see, more important than what the driver does all day long, it'll be the team that best manages its logistical nightmare that's going to win this year's Baja 1000.
Well, for the race fans, the Baja 1000 is quite a party, one big street carnival. However, for the drivers and teams, it is one very long nightmare. And the points chase is getting to be a nightmare for those trying to catch Robbie Gordon. He sits atop the heap. It is far from over. Let's check in now with Bob Bauer for more of the story.
After winning 4 out of 6 races, Robbie Gordon has only a 19-point lead in the championship series. Well, Robbie, isn't this kind of like going into Game 7 of the World Series?
It definitely is. You know, if we make a mistake here that could cost us from finishing the race, McCaffrey can win the championship. So, you know, we're going to take this race, the same race we took the Parker 400 at the beginning of the season. We're going to go out and we're going to run hard. If we pick up halfway points, all we have to do is finish. So our goal is to run the race like we ran the first race of the year, go out to win.
One thing Robbie Gordon doesn't want to see coming through his dust today is the number 21 entry from Venable Racing with Rob McCaffrey, the 1994 Trophy Truck champion, because there's a tough points battle. Rob, what's more important today, winning the race or winning the championship? Which are you going to go for?
Well, I want to do both. You know, winning the race is very important. Also, the championship is very important. We're 19 points down to Robbie right now. We need to win the race, get the halfway points, and Robbie needs to finish 5th for us to win. We're going to go at it from the beginning with this Ford as strong as we can and try to win this race.
Well, if anybody can beat Robbie Gordon, it should be Rob McCaffrey, the only other winner of a trophy truck race so far this season. Well, the racers are set, and we are ready to bring you the start of the Tecate SCORE Baja 1000. It's brought. Welcome back to Ensenada, Mexico, where we are getting set to start the Tecate SCORE Baja 1000, the granddaddy of off-road races. And here's a look. A very tough course, Bob.
It is going to be tough. It goes clockwise from Ensenada through Ojos Negros, up over 5,000 feet of mountain, down to San Felipe and out over the Sea of Cortez, back up over the mountains, over to the Pacific Ocean in Santo Tomas, and then back through Ojos Negros, where the last 70 miles is also the one you ran in the first 70. Very tough. Very, very tough.
Race strategy already in play. Paul Simon decided to start last.
Since we weren't first off the line, we decided that a rear start might be the best thing for this course. That way we'll be first part of the race. There's usually a lot of booby traps built by the locals. We'll be the last one through them. Hopefully we'll get a little warning on the radio, and hopefully the cars in front of us will round off the corners on these traps. And it might pay off. It might be a bad decision that we made, but we'll see at the end of the race.
Well, let's introduce you to everybody in front of Paul Simon. Jeff Lewis out of Irvine, California. He'll be the first one off today.
This has been a development year for them, Ralph. This is a new 4-wheel drive concept, and it could revolutionize trophy truck racing.
Kurt Leduc will come right behind him from Cherry Valley, California in his Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Kurt has a lot of Baja experience. In fact, look at that trash bag he's wearing. That's to keep the mud and the crud that he's going to have to run through in the first 10 miles off his body.
Jeep into the throttle, and on his way out goes Kurt Leduc. Tim Herbst of Terrible Herbst fame, Ford F-150.
Well, the Herbst brothers both drive this truck, Tim and Ed, and in this case, they're going to get the third brother, Troy, in down about halfway through the course. They are fast, and they're...
And Larry Ragland gets set to take off in his Chevy out of Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, Larry's the defending Baja 1000 champion from last year, but he's got to be a question mark for this race because he's had a terrible mechanical year. Just have to watch and see how he does.
The Nelson & Nelson Racing Chevy powers away, and Rob McCachran, the only other driver to get a win this year, winning here in the Baja 500. That's his Ford F-150, set to go. Really radical-looking truck.
Very radical. In fact, it's the first season for that truck.
And Ivan Stewart in the Toyota SR5, the Iron Man, the legendary Baja driver out of Alpine.
One thing about the Baja 1000 for Ivan Stewart and PPI and the Toyota team, they've never won the Baja 1000. It remains as a sort of an enigma for them.
Kind of like Dale Earnhardt at Daytona. Hard to believe they've never won here. Danny Lettner out of Orange, California, the Chevy S10.
Driving at the start will be Marty Lettner, his son, who's going to take it about the halfway point and turn it over to Dad.
So the Lettner Racing entry is off and on its way. Next up, starting ninth, Paul Simon. We saw that he's going to move to the back of the line with the Ford F-150.
This truck is due for a win. These guys are so fast, and there's so much in the hunt, and they've had themselves really a hard luck season with crashes and fires and things like that. It's just going to be good for them if they can do well here.
Out on the course now, Jeff Lewis, who started first, leads the pack through, hoping not to hit any booby traps. And the booby traps are really something you have to watch out for.
Well, you know, Ralph, booby traps are scary because you never know what form they're going to take. I've been through some where they've dug a ditch. On the other side of the ditch was a big mound, so you bounce into the ditch and then you hit the mound, and it's designed to tear the truck apart. There's water hazards. They'll flood fields. They'll dam up road crossings. It just things that just make you fearful. And a lot of times you can't see them till you get to them, and there's no hope. All you can do is gas and go. It's frightening.
Kurt Leduc is the next truck that you're going to see. He is running second to Jeff Lewis. Now, a lot of the drivers were commenting on how tough this course was, not Kurt.
It's Baja. You know, when we were out there pre-run and everybody said, well, this is bad, and why didn't we go this way? And we got this wash, and we could have taken this hard road. And I'm just like, this is the toughest event, off-road racing, one-day event in the world, bar none. That's why when I sign an autograph for these fans that are behind us here that says Baja 1000 champion, it means something. It means something to me, and it means something to everybody that's here.
Bob, anybody who's been to this race, I've been in it, you've been in it, Tim Herbst has obviously been in it. Anybody who's been there knows what Kurt's talking about.
Well, that's so true. I've been fortunate enough to win a couple of times, and what happens in the Baja 1000, because it's an endurance race, is you learn a lot about yourself, and you can't hide from a finish line. You either got it or you haven't. So when you've accomplished something, you really have a personal, an excitement, a confidence. It's very magical.
One of the last great challenges of man and machines on this planet, the Baja 1000. You're getting to see the 1996 edition of it. Right now, they're working their way over the 5,000-foot mountains, headed down to the ocean. 700 miles of racing yet to go. Tell me about that.
Our truck's working pretty good. You know, we haven't really had any problems with it. We feel the truck runs better when you run it hard. So we're gonna see if we can run it hard. It's gonna be the last race I'm gonna run in off-road racing for a while. So we're gonna run the wheels off the thing, and hopefully it lasts all day long. That's our goal.
You can be sure that Ford engineers have benefited from having Robbie Gordon on their team. If the truck can survive Robbie Gordon, it can certainly survive the street. And Paul Simon about to cross the street. Now we've turned our doctor of dirt, the desert guru, Bob Bauer, loose with some of the drivers to do some word association. It began with Paul Simon.
Rocks. Well, there's lots of them. That's for sure. And there's a lot of sharp, big rocks on this course. We're running a BFG tire, the best tire made. Hopefully I can do my job and avoid 90% of the rock, but the other 10%, the tires have to do their job. Cows, lots of them everywhere. That's an unknown factor out here. Cows, rocks get kicked out on the course, cows walk out on the course, so you can free run till you're blue in the face, but you don't know where a herd of cattle is going to be. Same with the rocks. They're on the side of the course 1 minute, car in front of you nicks them, rolls them out on the course. Same with farmers. Sometimes they got to go to town in the middle of the race. and they don't want to go the way the race course is going. So you got to deal with them too.
Nighttime.
It's dark. It can be foggy. Plus you got dust. It's tough. It's not a marked course like when you drive on a highway in the States where it's all lit up. You need good lighting. You never have enough either because you just keep going faster till you almost can't see.
Hallucinations.
Never.
And hallucinations is no joke, Bob. I mean, that is something that a lot of drivers really have to contend with.
Well, it's true. You get tired, you get fatigued, and all of a sudden you see things. And we all have our own hallucinations. Sometimes they recur race after race in the long ones. And you just have to recognize that that's what's really going on. Sometimes you don't. You zigzag the car and crash.
Kurt Leduc continues to motor along out on the course. He is currently running second behind our leader on the course, Jeff Lewis. And Kurt trying to make his way down through some hills. And I think we're getting a good idea here in the early stages of the race just how radically wild the terrain is. You saw Paul Simon going through heavy wooded areas. We've seen them going over mountain ranges. We've seen them crossing streams. And here you see Kurt Leduc getting into some wider open spaces. Amazing the different types of terrain you'll see over 700 miles of this Baja course.
No kidding. I mean, we're only 40 miles into it, and you've got everything you've mentioned, Ralph, plus cliff roads to boot. Now, here Leduc is pulling up on Jeff Lewis, and this tells you that Kurt is really hammering the car to be that close at this early stage of the race.
Tim Herbst, third on the course.
The Herbst boys have really done a lot of homework on their driving, on their style of approaching a race course. They should do well in this trophy truck race.
Jeff Lewis is either running very slow or Kurt Leduc is running very fast, and this is a very difficult turn to navigate.
You know, not everybody takes those turns the same way. You know, some drivers will come up and back and fill a little bit. Other drivers will try different tactics. We'll see what the Herbst guys do. Oh, but now, see, look at that. They throttled it around. He swung the back end around by sticking it in the gas. Well, it got him around.
And here comes Robbie. Now, I would think this is a sign that Jeff Lewis is running slow because not only has Kurt Leduc caught him, but so has everybody else. And the other thing, Bob, is the fact that in this tight group now, it's very difficult to pass, so you've got to stay together.
Well, being together is a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing because you're making time on the cars in front, but the bad thing is you're also eating their dust. And oftentimes, you don't know what's happened up ahead of you, but you can't see through the dust. So while you may be close, you can't go fast. You actually have to slow down the closer you get to those other race trucks in case there's a problem ahead and you don't want to whack anybody.
As you can see, Robbie contending with the dust now, and yes, we're in the desert, and there's a lot of wide open spaces, but that dust makes it virtually impossible to get around the guy in front of you.
Very much so. In fact, passing in trophy trucks is very difficult to do because all the trucks are so equal, even though they have their different approaches to design. But most of the time in trophy truck racing, when there's a pass, that means someone's had a problem with a flat or a mechanical or something like that.
It becomes very similar to a NASCAR-style freight train at Daytona.
Exactly. Just like the draft. If you lose your place in line, you lose your place completely. And so these guys are going to be very close to each other here, and they know they can't slow down, but they can't go fast at times either.
You can see Robbie Gordon right there, almost to a dead stop in the middle of the desert because the dust was so thick and he couldn't see the terrain in front of him. You go too fast through a section, you can do some serious damage to your truck.
Well, and it's frustrating because at times you get glimpses of those other trucks just ahead of you. You know how close you are, but you also know if you make one little mistake, it's going to cost you a long time of fixing it.
We'll be back for more. 1,000 SCORE trophy trucks are what we're watching here in competition today. Ralph Shaheen and Bob Bauer with you. That's Robbie Gordon making his way up through some of the trucks in front of him. He's picking them off one at a time, taking advantage of some of these wider open spaces. You're going to see they're heading back up onto another ridge road here.
And Robbie has just picked off the Herbst brothers. Next in line on his hit list, Kurt Leduc. Let's see how fast he goes, how quick he gets him.
And Leduc's been running pretty aggressively today, so Robbie's going to have some work cut out for him early on here to catch this Jeep Cherokee.
It's a very fast truck, and Kurt really knows how to drive it. He's also the mechanic and the fabricator, and you know, Ralph, he's going kind of slow here. I don't understand this. This isn't Leduc's pace.
Struggling a little bit getting up this hill, isn't he?
Well, it's really not that steep, so there's got to be a problem. It looks like he's about to lose his place in line.
Well, we talked about how important that is. Boy, you step out of line, and your day is done.
He's just nursing it, too. He's definitely got himself a problem. Oh, there he's committed. He's pulling over to park. Yep, he's parked.
Well, an extremely long day just got a lot longer, as now here comes Robbie. And it won't be long before the rest of the train passes Kurt Leduc, who is now stuck atop this hill's top, and that is going to make things very difficult for his chase crew to get to him to help him as well.
Oh, the access to this section of the course is very, very difficult. And you know, the frustrating thing, you gotta just, your heart goes out to Kurt, because he's sitting in there, he's watching these guys go by, he hears them coming, and then he's got to sniff their dust as they go swooshing by, coating his car with what they left behind.
There goes Rob McCachran, and Kurt will be on the radio trying to get to his crew, trying to tell them where he is at, what he thinks is wrong with the truck, what they need to bring to him. This is where the organization of your race team comes into play. If they can get to him quickly with some 15 hours or more of racing to go for these guys, maybe they can get to him, get him fixed, get him back in competition, and get him a shot. Now there's Ivan Stewart in the Toyota, still looking for his first win of the year. He is making his way past Kurt Leduc, and we turn the Doctor of Dirt loose on him with his Word Association game as well.
Fatigue.
Big part of what's going to take a lot of these drivers out. It's a long race. It's a tremendous amount of concentration. It's not like the race to La Paz where you have a lot of long straightaways where you can relax and just let the car run. All day and all night long, it's going to be concentrate, concentrate, concentrate. And the guy that can do it with the least amount of energy, and that's what I've always prided myself on, is being able to concentrate for long periods of time without tiring myself, and driving and taking a lot out of the race car. So it's a big part.
Night driving.
Ooh, another big factor. Going to play a big part. Easy to get lost. Lots and lots of turns, like I say, you get up and up, especially the first 40 miles of the race, which is the last 700 miles of the race coming back in at night. A lot of guys can get lost.
Hallucination.
Yeah, I've been there, doing there, done that. The fatigue, the amount that you've got to concentrate, the amount of hours it's going to take, the speeds that we're going. Sure, you see things. I've seen, I had a friend of mine see a train down here one time. I've seen people run out in front of me that weren't there. It was a cow's shadow or something. So, yeah, it's hallucination is a big factor. It's just, you know, something you look at and you can kind of learn to laugh at it. You say, oh, God, that looked just like a train or an airplane.
Passing
difficult. And I don't think we're going to get much rain, so the roads are going to be dusty. Patience is another word that you come up with. Patience is going to be the secret to winning this Baja 1000. Don't get excited. Take your time. If anybody that came up, any of the drivers after, the big word that I could tell them for what they're going to have here is going to be patience.
Unfortunately for the younger drivers, patience is probably the toughest thing to learn about racing and winning at Baja. And it just takes years and years of experience to understand the true meaning of patience and how to capitalize on it. Ivan Stewart certainly knows the meaning of it. Maybe he'll be able to utilize it to get a victory here today. Rob McCachran is a young driver who does understand the meaning of patience. He won the Baja 500 earlier this year. And we turned the Doctor of Dirt loose with the Word Association game one more time.
Rocks.
Big ones, stay away from.
Silt.
Hopefully they're behind you.
Sand wash.
Lots of fun. This truck hooks up really good in sand washes.
Nighttime.
A lot of fun. We got Pia lights. You know, they're going to be really good.
Hallucinations.
We're not going to have any of those because it's only going to be 14 hours.
Finish line.
The best.
That finish line is some 14 hours away. Hard to believe. Rob McCachran considers that a short day at the office. For the Baja 1000, it is. But to any other racer in any other form of motorsports, that would be a nightmare of an afternoon. We'll be back for more of the Ducati SCORE Baja 1000 right after this. Daddy of all off-road races, the SCORE Ducati Baja 1000. That's Larry Ragland. He's fourth on the course. He's picked up one spot.
Right now he's in this Guadalupe wash, which is an uphill sand wash, and it's absolutely brutal on race equipment, Ralph, because the engine's turning over fast, the tires are spinning, but you're not going forward as fast as you ought to be. It just drags horsepower down and heats up transmissions.
Larry trying to pick his way through there and avoid some of the people standing along the side. Now we have the opportunity to get into some radio communication to listen in to what Larry is getting from his crew, what he is saying back to them. They're flying overhead in the helicopter. They're going to help Larry navigate his way through this very tricky section. Let's listen in.
Tommy, it looks like you got a man made up at these people. Right here.
Ralph, that was one of those booby traps, and I tell you, this team's extra vigilant about that. They lost their whole truck in a flip 7 miles into a race in San Felipe earlier this season.
Robbie Gordon now going through a natural section of the racetrack that can be very tricky. And you can be sure that anytime you see people gathered on the side of the road, there is something exciting that is about to happen to you inside the truck. They don't stand around in the boring sections of the race course. They stand around where the trucks are going to get airborne.
You know, as many times as I've been through them, Ralph, it always amazes me how we don't think it through. We see people, we see obstacles, and we don't see things coming that we should be seeing. For example, big hits, pow, jumps like that. So, you know, you just have to be very vigilant. You have to watch out. When you see people, exactly as you said, watch out. It's hard to remember that when you're driving. I don't know why, but it is.
Rob McCaffrey now taking his time fording a river. People standing by to watch. And Rob will eventually get airborne. You can be sure of that in this group. Right there, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, he didn't hit it very hard. You know, Rob McCaffrey does homework better probably than almost any driver in this race. He knows the rocks, the humps, the jumps, and the boards. He knows what's going to happen next.
Larry Ragland, the big bow tie.
You know what impresses me here is that they are all so close together still. They're very bunched up here, Ralph, and that doesn't necessarily happen at a Baja 1000. I think we're in for a Donnybrook here.
These trophy trucks are released from the starting line at 1-minute intervals. So they've made up some big ground between each other. Here's Jeff Lewis. He started first today, but he has slipped all the way back to 6th.
Well, Jeff is a good, fast driver, so you'd have to suspect that there's something going on with the truck right now and holding him back a little bit.
And just behind him, here comes Paul Simon. Now, remember, these guys started dead last by choice. They wanted to avoid a bunch of those booby traps. They've been making up a lot of ground here in the early stages of the race this year. Now, this is a team, though, Bob, that has had nothing but bad luck.
Bad luck pretty well sums up their season. You know, they've had the lead in every race they've been in at one point during this year, but they've had no wins come their way. And it's because of freak things that have happened to them, things that are very, very difficult to understand why, because you can be out in the lead, as they have been, and all of a sudden see it vaporize, go away from you. For example, at the Baja 500 here, they had the lead well in hand, and the truck caught fire. And it caught fire big. They were up in the pine forest away from anybody that could help them, and ended up going from 1st to 6th place in a heartbeat, which pretty well sums up the way this Simon team season has gone so far.
Well, the race here in June was a tough one for the Simons. As you can see, they were able to climb out of the truck, bring it to a safe stop, put the fire out, and continue. The day would not get better in June. Maybe here today, they can end up getting a win. And if you win the Baja 1000, boy, suddenly everything that happened to you before that was such a nightmare isn't quite so bad after all. Winning the biggest race of the season just somehow seems to make all those hardships a little bit easier to swallow.
Well, Paul Simon is a charging, hard driver today, and he's coming up on Jeff Lewis. He's going to get around him, but Ralph, I bet you watch him take his time and do it one time right rather than bang and crash and make mistakes and tag a tire and have himself a problem. Well, look at there. Now, see, Jeff knows that Paul's faster. He's doing the gentlemanly thing, say, pull over, let him by. He's on a mission.
Well, they're not done with the water yet. There's plenty more of that wet stuff before they get through with this race. And this is a team, Bob, that's utilizing 2 drivers, which you would think would be a huge advantage.
Well, in a lot of ways, it is. It can work for you. It can work against you. Now, in sections like this where there's really heavy rocks and stuff hiding under the bushes, having a fresh driver really, really counts because you got to be nimble and quick. But the other thing that happens is maybe that driver gets in the truck halfway through the race and he doesn't know the condition of the truck as well, or he maybe overdrives it a little bit and maybe gets flat tires. This is where it can really knock you down. But I would vote for 2 drivers if you've got them in a long race like the Baja 1000, because it's just so tough to keep your mind going.
Oh, man, look at these silt beds.
Look at the way it's pushing the silt ahead, just like water. It's such deep, nasty, ugly stuff.
And that's the kind of stuff that can knock you right out of the race.
Sure, because there's sometimes big boulders hidden underneath that silt, and it'll kill you.
The SCORE Ducati Baja 1000 in Baja, Mexico. That is Robbie Gordon, who is the leader on the course right now. Ralph Shaheen and Bob Bauer with you as we watch Robbie Gordon try to win his way to the SCORE Trophy Truck Championship for 1996.
They're really bunched up here, Ralph. I mean, we've got guys that are almost within sight of one another. And so I know that they're all beginning to feel, or are feeling, the pressure of each other during this section. And that's when things start to happen. The pressure that builds up in the driver's mind and in the cockpit and with the whole team is very, very intense, because they know that they can't make a mistake, because if they do, they're going to get overrun by the rest of the people.
Now, something interesting to point out here as you watch Larry Ragland is that it's difficult to tell from the angle above the truck. Now, these drivers, including Tim Herbst, when they're down in the forest like this, cannot see over the bushes. All it looks like to them is one long tunnel of green on both sides. So these guys are storming down these trails, having no idea exactly when and where the turn is going to come, until they basically get up on top of it and they see those little orange squares with the arrows. Those squares are maybe 2 inches across.
Well, that's so true. These tunnel-type roads get filled with dust also, and that tells you that there's a car up ahead, but you don't know how far ahead. So sometimes you flash your way into the dust, hoping that you cut through it, and do. Other times, you end up tagging a tire, sliding into a bush, or catching a tree branch with the roof of the truck. Or worse yet, what happened to me in one Baja 1000 is we slid off the road, the back end of the truck landed on top of a tree. I had to crawl under the truck, chop the tree down to get the truck onto the ground so we could drive away. You just never know what's going to happen. It's the Baja 1000.
Paul Simon, he is the leader due to corrected time. Now that means that we start at 1-minute intervals. He is running faster on the course than everybody else. So he is actually the quickest truck on the course. He is the corrected time leader. Robbie Gordon is the first truck on the course physically, but not on the clock.
I'll guarantee you Robbie knows where the Simons are, because the Simons are definitely tuned into where Robbie is.
Here is Ivan Stewart, the legendary Iron Man. Now, Ivan, like most of the teams, has air support. They have helicopters that follow them along, and they have radio communication back and forth. And we're fortunate enough to have the opportunity to listen in.
Ivan, they're all running a big clump. Even though Simon's got a pinch of a lead here, physically they're all in each other's dust. You could throw a blanket over them. So whatever dust you're seeing, you could be seeing all of them together. They're very, very close from what I can tell on these time splits. Somebody is blowing the corners like crazy. We'll see them up here in a minute. Oh, it appears they're all racing pretty hard. And they're all racing hard early. They're running it like a trophy dash. So, you know, I'd obviously try and stay in touch. I wouldn't try and lose too much more time, but they all seem to be changing the lead up there and rubbing paint pretty often. Like I say, they're all in each other's dust. Herbst is the only one that seems to be falling away a little bit. Yeah, good one. I'm just settled into the pace cal I think it's going to take, and I just kind of going to maintain that, and I think it's what we need. I understand you're the boss. We'll just keep you informed about where you're losing time. These are the areas normally we're the strongest, but again, these guys are running very, very hard. So we'll see how it ends up 3-4 hours from now, make some decisions from there. Long, hard race. Long way to go yet. Copy that.
Well, you hear Ivan. I think the thing that's so interesting is, one, he's not losing his patience, and two, how calm his voice sounds inside. As fast as he is working, as hard as he is working, he's not out of breath. The legendary Iron Man, one of the most conditioned drivers, physically fit, ready to go. Whatever's thrown at him, he is in the right mode to handle it. And Robbie Gordon handling it very well. He's out front, tail out. The only way you would expect Robbie Gordon to drive any race.
No question about it on this pavement. He knows who's behind him and how fast they're going. You know, it's hard to run a 715-mile race in Baja without crossing some pavement sections, and this is just a little shorty as they transition from one dirt road to the next dirt road.
It's just like a bridge, that's all it is. Here comes Larry Ragland. He's going to use up all the pavement.
They are going fast. Ralph, you know, they aren't normally going to hit pavement sideways like that. You can tell they're all thinking about each other. Absolutely intense here. This is setting up to be quite a battle. More closeness than you'd ever see in average Baja 1000 run.
Here's Tim Herbst. He's third on the course right now. Well, we heard Cal Wells talking about how hard they were running. And look, he's got a problem with that truck.
Well, he's got two problems. He's got a left rear flat, and he's got a Simon on his tail. So I think the Simons are going to get right by him as soon as he pulls over to fix that tire.
And Herbst does so there, and the Simons will now go by.
Oh, look at that. The Herbsts have their pit right where they needed it. That's exactly what I was telling you about at the top of the show, Ralph.
And that's where that radio communication with your crew comes in. He must have known a few miles back he had a problem developing. The crew was able to get to a position where they could change it. They were ready to go, and Tim Herbst will be able to return. Herbst right now sits third on the leaderboard. We'll be back with more from Baja right after this. This is an active section of highway, so that truck in front of Ivan Stewart is a pace truck, and we're going to get a chance to listen in again to the radio.
Mandua, just come in nice and easy. We're going to take a few minutes and take a look at the back end of the car, so just be patient, please. Ivan, put your front windscreen up so we can clean it, please.
Now, Ivan's in this pit, Ralph, for rear tires, fuel. They're going to clean that little windscreen, which is a little Lexan shield that pops up over the top of the steering wheel to protect his knuckles because they have no windshield in this truck.
Now, this is a well-rehearsed pit stop. This crew works a lot of hours practicing pit stops so they can do it quickly, efficiently, and smoothly in the desert.
Calm down. In gear. Go ahead and head out. Everything looks good underneath, Ivan. I can't see anything hanging, so just keep listening. 2-4, thanks. Thank you, guys.
Ralph, I'm impressed with the PPI team, the way they get things done so low-key, so quick, and so well. Man, this is Laguna Diablo. In Spanish, that's the Lake of the Devil. And out on there, you go fast. It's 18 miles of straightaway, fundamentally, and this is where you let the legs hang out. The Simons are coming up. They have a GPS in that truck and it records their speed. They are at 141 miles an hour right there, and I know they have some throttle left.
And they are outrunning our helicopter. Ivan Stewart right behind these guys. There he is. Now, this PPI team came down here and practiced, getting ready for this race. They are dead serious about Toyota winning the Baja 1000.
Not to be cocky, not to be arrogant, but I think, you know, the dedication of Cal Wells and position preparation and BF Goodrich and everything that we put together, I think that the support that we have, Gary Mistroli, our team captain, has been down on all the chase roads 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, our pits are covered. A lot of confidence. I mean, we won this race. We know how to do it. We're going to go out and implicate. We're going to take it home. Ivan
has won Baja, but he has never won it with Toyota as the truck he is driving. They won it bad.
We spent an incredible amount of time. That's one reason why we skipped the last race at Laughlin, was to give us even more time to prepare for this race. We're not in the points championship whatsoever, so our pure goal here is to win overall by a great distance, and that's our entire focus with all our pits, chases, and crews, is win at all costs.
Ralph, look at the antennas on top of Ivan's truck. They're curled and they're bent back. That tells you it's been a rough ride till now, and he's going fast at the moment.
He is hauling the mail at this point. Robbie Gordon working his way through this canyon section. Now, you heard Bob earlier talking about GPS. That's a global positioning system. These teams use those to help locate the truck out on the course and keep themselves on the right track. Bob had a chance to take a look at GPS earlier.
At the beginning of the show, I talked about the enormous amount of spare parts teams are going to have to scatter all over this Baja 1000 race course. But having spare parts and getting them to a needy race car could be two different things, especially when it's dark. Well, technology has taken a step forward and taken the needle out of the haystack with a thing called GPS. Ralph, what is GPS?
GPS stands for Global Positioning System. It's a system of satellites that was put up by the U.S. military about 20 years ago. It was used extensively during Desert Storm to guide the troops and the equipment around the desert. What happens is the satellites send down a signal to the receiver in the vehicle, and the receiver receives that information and plots out the latitude and longitude number of that truck, allowing the race vehicle to tell its crew, here I am, bring me my spare parts, here I am, bring me my fuel. And Eagle's now proud to offer a brand new high-performance 12-channel GPS for under $200 that fits in the palm of your hand. So all this technology is available to everybody out there in the audience.
What used to be space-age technology is now a common piece of equipment in every truck, and you can't win without it. Well, there's also action off the course here at Baja. This is Contingency Row. You need a patch, a pin, a decal, or a new t-shirt to say that you've been to Baja. This is a place to find it. It's also quite a gastronomical adventure. 1,000 continues. The sun is starting to drop a little bit lower in the sky, and Robbie Gordon is still the first on the course. He started fourth here today.
Ralph, look at the roof line there. You'll see a rack of lights. Robbie's all prepared for the nighttime because he's probably going to hit the dark before he gets to his next pit stop, and he wants to be prepared. He doesn't want to slow down at all.
Robbie continues on through this gorge area here. Now, Larry Ragland will be the next one to lay down on the couch for Dr. Bob's Word Association.
Rocks.
Flat.
Sand wash.
Stop.
Silt.
Just dirty.
Other race cars.
Nah, I'm not worried about the other race cars. No, that's not. I'm worried about Baja, not the race cars.
Crowds.
Definitely a big concern. That's probably one of my biggest concerns. That's one reason I would not like to be lead vehicle. Hopefully it's a safe day. That worries me more than any other thing out there.
Cattle.
Nah, I don't worry too much about the cattle. We outweigh them.
Hallucinations.
Yeah, hopefully I don't get that tired. Hopefully we'll be done early enough that we don't have to go all night like we did have last year. We went, most of the race last year was all night long.
Fatigue.
That's a concern. This is a difficult race. It's real physical in here. A lot of physical abuse just because it's slow and tight and twisty and a lot of work. So that's a concern.
Finish line.
I think we'll be here. Just hopefully we'll be the first one here.
The thing to remember, Bob, is these guys have been racing since sunup. It's getting to be sundown, and they're still going at it and going at it hard.
Well, I've never seen anything like it in the Baja 1000. The first 5 trucks haven't lost a second to each other. They've been in a freight train. And, you know, at this time, this is where a driver is totally into his race car. He feels he is the car. The tires are his feet, his paws, and he's glancing over the rocks. He knows that if he hits one too hard and he has a flat, he's going to lose his place in line. So they are absolutely tuned in. They're not even aware of the passage of time.
Paul Simon is fourth out on the course. Remember, he started last of all the trophy trucks, and he is the leader on the board as far as the clocks are concerned.
Of course, the leader on the board in a freight train like this, that can change in a heartbeat. You know, I'll bet you every one of them's been in the lead at some time point in the hours they've been running so closely.
Pressure is on nobody greater than Ivan Stewart here today. We've been talking throughout the show about how much Toyota wants to win this event, how much time and effort they've put into preparing for this race. Is there a section as we see the shadows growing longer in the canyons, Bob, where you think the Toyota is really going to excel today?
Well, I think the area where the Toyota could have excelled has been passed by now. The reason is that the big V8s ahead of them actually can squirt through this sand a little bit quicker. They can get over the rocks and squirt on the accelerator much faster, so that the advantage doesn't really go to the Toyota V6 in this case.
Patience might be the key, though, for Ivan. He talked about it earlier. He is taking his time. Look how he picks his way through these big boulders. He might just be able to survive this one better than the hard chargers ahead of him.
Well, the guys ahead of him have already been through these boulders, and there's more to come for them. So he knows that at any given moment, they could hit one of those boulders and take a drive line out, and he'd have himself one position further toward the front. So the patience part you talk about, exactly right. Ivan has the mental stamina to run his pace, his way, all day and all night if it takes that to win.
Setting the pace for everybody right now is still Robbie Gordon in that Ford truck of his that he basically handcrafted himself. Did all the design work on this truck, and this is the last time he'll race it in competition and off-road. Of course, Robbie will be moving on to a General Motors Winston Cup car in 1997.
The Baja 1000 course is extremely difficult in the middle of the day when you can see what's around you. At night, the visibility gets even tougher, racing gets even rougher. And for the crews, a long day now becomes even more complicated by cold desert temperatures at night. This is the crew of Larry Ragland awaiting the arrival of their truck, a team that has dealt with difficulties mechanically over the course of the season. Here comes Larry. At this point, this is the last pit stop in the race. When they are done here, they will only be 70 miles away from the finish line. Larry leads the event, and if the crew can give him a good pit stop, and if the truck can hold, he might have 2 wins in a row in this most famous of all off-road races.
Ralph, the truck doesn't sound that good. I hear a cracked header on there, and that could end up being a problem for him. It happened to him earlier in the Mexico race, where the header cracked. It started a fire on the spare tire and took him some downtime. Now, he's only 70 miles from the finish, like you say, and he does have the lead. But it looks like his question mark is about to be wrapped up with maybe a win this year.
Ragland will make his way off into the darkness. Will he make it, or will he break it? The pot of gold awaits him at the finish line in Ensenada. SCORE Baja 1000 has been brought to you by Toyota Motorsports. Our minds are always racing. And by the more than 1,475 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. Well, the bright lights of Ensenada are a welcome sight, as are the Ducati girls. Victory lane here in Ensenada, as Larry Ragland has made it. He is the first to finish with a beaten and battered Chevy. He will win the Baja 1000 for the 2nd year in a row. What an amazing victory. The Ducati SCORE Baja 1000 goes to Larry Ragland in 1996. It took him 14 hours and 38 minutes. The crew will release the window net. He'll get a cool drink of water. He'll climb out on top of the truck. A back-to-back winner of the SCORE Ducati Baja 1000.
Well, now, it seems to me the last thing we talked about this morning when you left was having fun.
Well, now I'll start having fun. I had to go through I don't know how many hours of misery. Now the fun begins. It's never fun doing it. It's fun when it's over.
When did you have a feeling that you really had it gone? I mean, that you made it?
When I stopped right here. Not until then. I mean, you worry the last 100 yards that the tranny's going to go away. Something's going to happen. Not until you're here.
What kind of problems did you have at all?
We lost our exhaust, and it fell down on some of our other engine components, and we lost some of our instrumentation, and then we were worried about catching a few things on fire, so we cut it off and just ran without a muffler on one side. So it was pretty unbearable as far as the sound. That's real fatiguing, it's just the sound. But it wasn't that used to it. I imagine my ears will ring for a few days. If it wouldn't have been this race, I would have liked to quit. But for this race, we're not going to quit.
Another driver who did not quit was Ivan Stewart. He will be credited with 2nd place this year, not what he was hoping for. Some 10 minutes behind Larry Ragland in the clocks. And here he comes, Robbie Gordon. His last race in this big Ford truck and off-road competition on the SCORE Tour. Robbie is 3rd in, and that will score him enough points to wrap up the SCORE Trophy Truck Championship for the 1996 season. Let's go back down to Bob with our 2nd place finisher.
Oh boy, Ivan, you left in a hurry this morning.
It was a pretty good day, Bob. We ran a little bit off the pace. Larry ran great all day. It was something that I didn't think he could run that hard for that long. Our pace was off a little bit, but we'll get him next time.
And you can be sure Ivan will be back in 1997 to try to do it again. Here is a look at the final results of the SCORE Ducati Baja 1000 through the 9 entries in the Trophy Truck Division, and the final point standings as well, where Robbie Gordon is the 96 champ.
I've learned a lot racing off-road. I've had a lot of fun. You know, we came back as a team owner and did what we wanted to do. We won the championship. You know, Larry may have won the battle, but we won the war.
He designed the truck, he built the truck, and he owns the truck. What a champion, Robbie Gordon, at only 27 years of age. 1996 SCORE Trophy Truck Champion. Well, more history has been made in the legendary Baja 1000. For the Doctor of Dirt, Bob Bauer, and for Larry Ragland, our winner, I'm Ralph Shaheen. So long.